Hello and welcome to Sri Raj IS. My name is Shashank Roy, and today we are here for the Hindu News Analysis, 13th of March. So let's talk about today's news articles. First of all, pay attention to this screen. Think outside the box. If you are thinking in a repeated style, if you are thinking about the same thing again and again, right? If you do not have something new idea, if you do not have something creative, right, you will live the same life thousand times. So what is required is think outside the box. Think outside the box. Think outside the box. What it means is that think beyond conventional things. Think beyond conventional things. Okay, so here it is, think beyond, think outside the box. Let's talk about today's article, the Hindu. So the first article is Iran US blame each other as talks end without a deal. Second article is again related to Trump and US Iran deal. Third is related to US Iran communication. So I have clubbed three different articles together. Next is also related to sub-editorial tourism and trade, that is related to Nicobar, Andaman and Nicobar Island, where the government of India wants to develop a project worth 92,000 crore. So we will talk about this article. Then we have different articles. I will take you through editorial first. I will take you through editorial first, and then we will come on this article. Here it is. So the editorial says, this is the editorial. Tapping fisheries in reservoir, Abhilash Likhi, Union Secretary, Department of Fisheries, Government of India. Tapping fisheries in reservoir. And this is the thumbnail I have made. This shows the cage culture, which is developing, which is growing in India's southern states. And here is the editorial. So, uh, when Donald Trump imposed 50% tariff on Indian goods, fisheries sector was one of the worst affected area, especially southern states. The coastal state, the coastal state which are located in peninsular India, starting from Gujarat and going up to West Bengal. So fisheries sector impacted negatively because Andhra is the biggest producer of shrimp across the world, a producer of shrimp, and US is the biggest market. So after the imposition of 50% tariff, this industry and the millions of people involved in this industry impacted badly. So got impacted. So these are some of the articles to remind you about the problems associated with fisheries sector in the present, past, and future, and also, so here it is. Trump tariff impact becomes clearer. Andhra pegs shrimp export losses as 25,000 crore, 50% export order cancelled. Next article says, we now have a fighting chance. Trump's tariff cut energizes Andhra's shrimp industry. Third article says, diversify the basket. Why it is necessary to diversify the farming basket. So I have clubbed together three articles so that you have a 360-degree approach. This article is not only related to fisheries sector. This article is related to diversifying the farmers' income as well and sustainability, especially in the context of climate change. Okay, so here it is. So gene editing technologies is here. Before we proceed further, let's talk about few things. First of all, in order to understand fisheries sector, understand India's map first. Okay, so make a map of peninsular India, right? Now, earlier it was 7,616 kilometer, but the newly determined coastline of India is 11,000 plus kilometers. So this is India's new coast, right? Now, if you know the exclusive economic zone or territorial water, draw a map related to territorial water, which is 12 nautical miles, which is 12 nautical miles. Now, understand exclusive economic zone up to what? Exclusive economic zone up to 200 nautical mile. 200 nautical mile. So for a country like India with 11,000 plus kilometers coast and having a 200 nautical mile of exclusive economic zone with multiple states, right? Start with Maharashtra, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, right? And then Odisha, and then West Bengal. So we have 3 to 5 through 8. We have eight coastal state located in peninsular India with a coastline of 11,000 plus kilometers and 200 nautical miles of exclusive economic zone. So it provides India a great opportunity for fisheries sector. Again, I would like you to mention certain data, and the data is related to shrimp cultivation in Andhra, shrimp cultivation. Now, Andhra Pradesh is the biggest producer of shrimp, and the biggest market is USA. Also remember why this question can be in UPSC prelims, because this was the shrimp sector or the fisheries sector was negatively impacted by Donald Trump 50% imposition tariff imposition, right? So this is the map, and this is exclusive economic zone, territorial water, shrimp, and basic data. Now there is another thing. Understand, talk about it in the context of climate change. Climate change. Now climate change is impacting the entire aquatic life, so keep an eye on that. Aquatic life, right? Now, due to fisheries capture, we have conflict, we have constant tussle with the fishermen from Sri Lanka. There is another dimension to that. And what is that dimension? And that dimension is fisheries sector, climate change, and neighboring states. Again, sustainability. Sustainability is another clause that you need to pay attention to. Sustainability is another clause. Sustainable development goal number 6, not goal number 6, not goal number 6, goal number 13 and 14. So we have the geographical location, we have peninsular India, we have states, we have basic knowledge about exclusive economic zone, we have basic data about shrimp, Donald Trump 50% tariff, and sustainability, and the angle related to climate change. Is that clear? I hope that is clear. Now let's move on to another one. India's food basket. India's food basket. Now the question is, in India's food basket, the majority of the grains are centered around rice and wheat. Rice and wheat. If you look at India, right, India's green revolution journey has uplifted millions of people out of poverty, but at the same time, something wrong has gone. And what is that? We are centered around rice and wheat cultivation. So if you look at our achievement, yes, we are a food secure nation. We can call ourselves a food secure nation, but we are not nutritional secure. Nutritional security. So we have to move from food security to nutritional security, and for that to happen, we have to diversify our food basket. Apart from that, we also need to diversify farmers income. Now, when the food basket will be diversified, income will also be diversified, right? Or until the time farmers income will not be diversified, farmer will remain poor. Majority of the farmers in India, they are poor and marginalized. They do not have land holding rights. They're simply the agricultural laborers. So if we want our farmers to be happy, if we want their income to be doubled, we have to go for the farmers in food basket diversification. And fisheries sector has enormous potential to diversify. Fisheries sector has huge opportunity for employment and innovation. And for that purpose, Government of India has launched a wonderful scheme that is known as Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. I hope this is clear. Team, is this clear? We have to diversify. In order to diversify farmers' income, we have to diversify the food basket, and fisheries sector is one such sector which has enormous potential to absorb huge labor force into it, and innovation is also required. So we have to move from food security to nutritional security, and I've also highlighted Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. We'll talk about it. This is the map of India, which is reflecting India's territorial water, exclusive economic zone, climate change, sustainability, and shrimp related details. So let's move on to the main editorial now. Now, wheat rice system, food security with hidden cost. This is another article which I've added here. Now, look at this one. Building a blue economy, what India can learn from China. China owns the world's largest deep water fishing fleet. I add two, three, four articles additional. Apart from the main article, I also add three, four articles to give you a context, to give you perspective, to give you a 360-degree idea related to one particular topic. So now we are going to discuss how to develop India's fishery sector, but at the same time, can we learn lesson from other countries? For example, China has the largest deep water fishing fleet, which also serve as a maritime militia assisting the Chinese Navy and Coast Guard. India too must raise its own fleet and build modern harbors to further its economic and security goals. Next article says blue economy. Blue economy, what is that? It means that using the ocean resources in such a way that it is contributing towards your economy, and sustainability is at the crux, at the center of this entire economy concept. Look at this one. Interim budget mentions blue economy 2.0. What this means? This is an example of cage culture. This is an example of cage culture. What happened in cage culture? Cage culture means it's a floating cage. It's a floating cage in which the fishlings are put here with adequate amount of nutrition, adequate amount of food, and now this floating cage is tied to a rope or an anchor, or float or anchored somewhere. So fish keep on growing. Apart from that, the water is also constantly changed because they have not been established into stagnant water. So this is the cage culture. Look at this one. How India is attempting to harness its marine fisheries potential. This is an Indian Express report. Now, I have already explained you the baseline, exclusive economic zone, and India's potential. Now, integrated with sustainable development goal number 13, which is climate action, 14, which is life below water, and 15, life of land. So you can integrate sustainable development goal number 13, 14, and 15. Again, we need 17 for partnership for goal. We need to align ourselves with the institution who are working in this field. We can also integrate responsible consumption and production. Team, always have a 360-degree approach. We understood India's geographical location, exclusive economic zone. Now integrate sustainable development goal number 13, 14, 15 for institutional support, goal number 17, partnership for goals, and goal number 12, responsible consumption and production. Again, keep in mind the nutritional security. We have to move from food security to nutritional security. Now, India is promoting reservoir fisheries as a major strategy to boost fish production and farmers' income. And this is under Mission Amrit Sarovar. What is Mission Amrit Sarovar? This is a plan launched by Government of India to produce fisheries sector, to develop fisheries sector. Then PM Matsya Sampada Yojana, which is focusing on using reservoir for aquaculture, improving market access, and supporting cooperatives. Now, when we talk about fisheries sector, we have to pay attention to entire supply chain. We have to pay attention to supply chain. Otherwise, this scheme will collapse. How this scheme will collapse? First of all, what is Amrit Sarovar? What is Amrit Sarovar? India is a huge country. India is a huge country. We do not have, all the countries. I mean, we have only 7-8 states located here in the coastline. What about these states? So, we have launched Amrit Sarovar scheme. What does that mean? It means that we are developing ponds. We are developing ponds, or we are promoting cage culture. What is cage culture? Cage culture is a floating cage, right? Develop anchored around a river, flowing river, or ponds, Amrit Sarovar, which is developed in a village pond, right? So Amrit Sarovar is there. So why it is supply chain is important in this entire affair? Because for fisheries sector to grow, what do you need? We need quality seedlings, quality seedlings plus credit availability plus training plus access to seedlings plus other resources, credit availability, training, again market access, and between training and market access, what do we need? We need cold storage, we need cold storage, we also need air conditioned air conditioned flights, because they are vulnerable for climate change, and if you do not provide them cold storage or supply chain related network, they will be destroyed, they will be perished. Okay, so supply chain is one of the most important aspect of this entire fish culture. So what the article says, that government of India has initiated mission Amrit Sarovar plus PM Matsya Sampada Yojana, which focuses on using reservoir for aquaculture, improving market access, and supporting cooperatives. Next says adoption of cage culture technology, right? They are floating cages, which has increased productivity from up to 2 to 3 times. Now it is a cluster based value chain approach, and here National Fisheries Development Board is being implemented, includes hatcheries, storage, transport, and marketing. So here entire supply chain network has been established, supply chain network has been established to ensure that this mission is not facing any problems. So we are paying attention to hatcheries, we are paying attention to storage, because cold storage is important here. Then we have transportation facilities and marketing. So entire end to end facility has been given for fisheries culture. Next is reservoir fisheries are crucial for livelihood in rural and backward region, for food security, and expanding India's blue revolution. Now, why this is reservoir fisheries? Not every country, not every state can come to the coastal areas for fisheries sector. But in our villages, under panchayat, there are many talabs, there are pokhras for which patta is given to the rural people. Now, panchayat can take this initiative, or the rural people can take this initiative, because this is not something they are doing for the first time. So, when you create a reservoir culture, right? When you create a reservoir fisheries in hinterlands of India, you also create a sustainable economic activity. You also promote nutritional security. You are also diversifying farmers' income. Let me put it in this way: when you promote reservoir fisheries in India's rural areas, there are under panchayats, there are pokhras, there are pokhras, there are talaya, right? There are community ponds. So this is not something they are going to do it for the first time. Now what will happen? We can take benefit out of these. So there are pokhras, there are talaya, and there are community ponds. What are we going to do? We are promoting fisheries or aquaculture. We are promoting fisheries or aquaculture in this field, for which we are giving 360-degree supports to these areas. Panchayat can also play an important role, or we can also create self-help group, right? And we can also promote a cooperative society for the same. Now, how this help is provided by National Fisheries Development Board is taking care of everything. So this is how fisheries is being promoted under Mission Amrit Sarovar, Mission Amrit Sarovar, and Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana. Now, when you promote Amrit Sarovar and Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, what is happening? You are increasing farmers' income. Let's say when you promote Amrit Sarovar or fisheries sector, what you are promoting? You are promoting rural income, rural, you are promoting rural income, you are diversifying income, diversifying income of the rural masses. You are also promoting nutritional security. You are also controlling distressed migration, distressed migration. You can also integrate Narega, which is now VVG Ram G. So you can integrate this scheme to build sustainable infrastructure which can be useful in fishery sector, right? You can develop ponds. You are promoting distressed, you are controlling distressed migration. You are also controlling, diversifying rural income. You are also diversifying income of the farmers. It will lead to nutritional security, and it will also help increasing, doubling farmers income. It will also help government in attaining doubling farmers income by 2030, right? So this is it. This is what the article says, that it will expand India's blue revolution. It will lead to food security. It will lead to livelihoods in rural backward region, and reservoir fisheries will play a crucial role. It will lead to aquaculture hubs, higher productivity, income, and rural development overall, right? So this is it in this article. I hope you enjoyed the entire session. Now let's move on to second article. China giving fictitious names to Indian territory, says center. Now look at the second image. It shows China's five finger theory. What does that mean? China is in a habit of claiming Indian territories, starting from starting from Aksai Chin, starting from Aksai Chin, and going up to Tawang region. Now, China has developed a theory, and according to that theory, it says, China says that China's Tibetan region is the hand, wrist. China is the wrist. This Tibetan region is the palm, and the territories which indicate, and these five fingers indicate the territories that rightly belong to China, which is known as China's five finger theory. China's five finger theory. Now, this theory has no credibility. This theory is not at all acceptable by any country. This is a bogus idea. This is a bogus theory. This is a bogus theory propagated by China whenever, as and when China wants to control or claim any territory of its own. Now, this is not for the India is not the only country which is facing this kind of tantrums by China, or the bogus claim or theory, bogus territorial claim. Now, China follows the same kind of 10 dash line principle, 10 dash line theory, which says that the entire South China Sea rightly belongs to China. So this is the behavior of China. It's also known as salami slicing. It is also known as salami slicing. This is the repeated and perfected and mastered way of China to usurp other countries' territories, be it South China, be it East China, be it India, or be it any other part of the world. So, what is this five finger theory? As I already explained, it shows that the wrist, China is the wrist, Tibet is the palm, and these five fingers reflect, these five fingers indicate the areas or the territories that rightly belong to China. Now, what China has done new? If you look at the article, it says China giving fictitious names to Indian territory, says center. So, what China has done? This is the area, right? This is the area. Look at this region. This is area known as Xinjiang region. Xinjiang region. This is the area from where China's Belt and Road Initiative passes, and it passes through Pak occupied Kashmir. And India has always objected to this infrastructure project. So, Xinjiang province, and this is a highly unrested area. This is related to Uyghur Muslims. Uyghur Muslims. These Uyghur Muslims are more closely connected to Central Asian republics, Central Asian republics, but China is doing a cultural appropriation. China is trying to convert these Uyghur Muslims to the Chinese culture since they belong to Xinjiang region, which is a crucial area from where China-Pakistan economic corridor passes. Now there is one more problem. Xinjiang province is also infested with terrorist, not terrorist exactly, but this is an unrest period. Unrested period, right? So this is from where this area China-Pakistan economic corridor passes. Again, there are 4 or 5 countries which are meeting here. So Xinjiang province is like a node. Xinjiang province is like a node which is a connecting point for various countries. Let me show you through maps. Look at this one, Aksai Chin. Let's move on to this one. I have already made that article. This is five finger theory. Now, Randhir Jaswal from Ministry of External Affairs says that our response to media queries regarding China giving fictitious name to places, what China has done, China has recently changed the name of this area, which is known as Xinjiang province. Look at this one. Xinjiang province is like a node between China, Mongolia, Kazakhstan, Russia, and India. So this is an important location, and any kind of misadventure by China in this territory must be met with stiff military resistance. Here it is. Now look at this one, Wakhan corridor. This is Indian territory, and Wakhan corridor is also connected with Afghanistan and China. This is a very strategic corridor which is 80 kilometers from Afghanistan to China. Now Wakhan corridor was in the news when USA demanded Bagram Air Base from Afghanistan. Bagram Air Base was developed during Cold War period. It's located in Afghanistan. By capturing Afghanistan, Bagram Air Base, US can keep an eye on all the Chinese military activities and its nuclear power center, which are located towards the next end of Wakhan corridor. So this is a geostrategic area. Now, China is renaming places in Indian territory to assert claims. India rejects it and calls it baseless, calling it a political tactic with no legal validity. Now, part of Chinese strategy is salami slicing and narrative building to strengthen territorial claim in the future. So, renaming is not the sovereignty change but aims to shape global perception over time. So this is what China does. China is renaming the locations near Xinjiang province, and it is known as Senling. The new name given to this Xinjiang province is Senling, which is also related to Pak occupied Kashmir area, touching the Pak occupied Kashmir area, and India has rejected the bogus claim of China, as always India does. So this is the reason. Let's move on to another article, and this article says, this article is related to Jaishankar discusses West Asian crisis with UAE president. Nothing critical in this article. What needs to be done is simply the mapping. Look at Abu Dhabi, look at Dubai, look at UAE. Right here on the this is just near the connecting point of Strait of Hormuz. Connecting point near Strait of Hormuz. So on the two sides of Strait of Hormuz. On one side we have Gulf of Oman, and we have another side Persian Gulf. So Strait of Hormuz is the connecting point between Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman, and here UAE is touching the boundaries of Saudi Arabia and Oman. Only two countries are touching the boundary of Saudi Arabia, UAE, Saudi Arabia and Oman, and it is not at all connected with Qatar, right? So please remember, I took this article only for the mapping purposes. And I will tell you one better way to do that. Whenever a location comes, try to draw a rough diagram. Whenever a location comes in front of you, again and again, try to draw a map. So here it is. This is Hormuz. This is Hormuz. This is Gulf of Oman. Gulf of Oman. This is Persian Gulf. Persian Gulf. Now differentiate between this area is related to UAE, right? And this area is related to Oman. Now UAE touches the boundary of only two countries, and these countries are on one side we have Oman, on the other side we have Saudi Arabia, and there is no connectivity with Qatar, right? When you go to the Middle East region, team, when you go to the Middle East region, try to recall Middle East, try to remember Middle East with in terms of regional grouping. So regional grouping, remember Gulf Cooperation Council, and Iran is not a member of Gulf Cooperation Council. Again, also remember Arab League, which has 22 members. Now also remember BRICS, where Iran has joined as a permanent member. Okay, so this is how you need to remember the mapping related aspects, right? So here it is. Jaishankar discusses West Asian crisis with UAE president. Now next article, here I have added all the details related to Gulf Cooperation Council in the mapping. Next is Israel Ben Gvir visits Flashpoint Al Aqsa Mosque compound. Al Aqsa Mosque is located in Jerusalem, and it is claimed it has three competing claim. Al Aqsa Mosque is claimed by three different religion, like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. All three religion are supposed to be born here. So this has competing claim by three different religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So this is a contentious point. So please just do a mapping, nothing else. Look at this one. Do the mapping of Jerusalem, Gaza Strip, Palestine, Tel Aviv, Jordan, Syria, Golan Heights, Lebanon. Right? I'll show you another one. Simply make a diagram like this and do a rough mapping. Do a rough mapping. Locate here Jerusalem, locate here Golan Heights, locate here West Bank, locate here, not here, Egypt, locate here Syria, not here, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon. Okay, so this is how you map, and it will stay with you. You'll be able to recall it even in examination. Now the next map is coming from Taiwan region. So China to boost Taiwan exchanges as opposition leader ends visit, and she said that I'm ready to promote the peaceful development of Taiwan. And China claims Taiwan as its own territory, whereas Taiwan claims sovereignty and territorial integrity. So the friction is going on, and few years back Chinese leadership said that if you want independence from China, be ready for war. And China also claims that come what may, by hook or by crook, we will make sure that Taiwan is unified with China. So when the West Asian conflict is going on, there is also a risk of this West Asian conflict is spiraling into another theater of conflicts, and one such theater of conflict is Taiwan and China. Now, the way USA has broken down or derailed the entire rule-based world order, it has given encouragement to countries such as China and Russia. Now, Russia will have complete claim on Ukraine's territory, and it will be difficult to go for a peace negotiation. At the same time, now US has no credibility or no moral ground to preach China about territorial integrity or abide by the rule-based world order. So tomorrow, the theater of war can shift from West Asia to South China Sea, which is going to be another battleground or nuclear flashpoint between the world superpower. So this is a grave risk in the days to come. This is going to be a nuclear flashpoint. China, Taiwan. Look at this one. This is Taiwan. How do you reach Taiwan? You go from Strait of Hormuz, Strait of Malacca, and then you reach Taiwan. And here there is a Taiwan Strait, and this is the South China Sea region. South China Sea region, which China claims. So remember other areas: South Korea, North Korea, Japan, Okinawa, Pacific Ocean, Guam, Philippines. That's it. Next is UN force in Lebanon says Israeli tank rammed its vehicle in south. So United Nations interim force in Lebanon, which is known as UNIFIL, is attacked by Israel. So just do the mapping of Lebanon and surrounding countries. Next is Hungary decides in key election that could unseat Viktor Orban, and his rule of 16-year can come ending. He's an ally of USA, and he's pro Donald Trump government. So just map the Hungary. Though Hungary is not so important in India's foreign policy, but again, keep on mapping things. So Hungary, what you need to do? You need to do mapping. Mapping in what sense? In what way? Do the clockwise mapping and do the anti-clockwise mapping. So clockwise mapping, we will have Croatia, Romania, Ukraine, Slovakia, Austria, and Slovenia. Now anti-clockwise: Slovenia, Austria, Slovakia, Ukraine, Romania, Serbia, and Croatia. Remember, Hungary is connected with Ukraine. Hungary is connected with Ukraine, and I will say that map all the countries which are touching the boundary, which are European countries, touching the boundary of Russia. Touching the boundary of Russia, especially Baltic countries located around Baltic nation. I would suggest you to map countries located around Baltic Sea. Mainly look at Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia. Right? Do the mapping. Now let's move on to Ukraine. Again, Ukraine is in the news. Ukraine Russia trade barbs over Easter truce violations, but this is not important. This is unimportant. Important is these locations which are highlighted here. Crimea was annexed by Russia, and that's why Russia was kicked out of G8 grouping. Now these are the areas captured by Russia, and Russia is not ready to return these lands to Ukraine. Whereas Ukraine says that we will not go for the peace deal without accepting these regions. These are the regions filled with mineral resources, and substantial population of this area speaks Russian. So Russia claims Kherson. Claims Kherson. Zaporizhia has the largest nuclear power center in entire Europe. Donetsk, Luhansk, again map Kharkiv, map Dnipro, map Kiev, map Odisha, which is a grain port, right? Black Sea, all the countries located around Black Sea. So these are the locations: Kharkiv, Dnipro, Kiev, Odessa, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, and Luhansk. These are the locations which you need to map, which you must be aware about these locations, because UPSC might ask that which among the following is located, or correctly map the location and the region they are located in. Okay, so this is one. Dhaka to send 20-member delegation to China outreach. Now what this article is all about: now we all know that China is under Belt and Road Initiative, what China is doing? China is doing massive infrastructure development around India. Massive infrastructure development around India, which is known as string of pearls. String of pearls. Right? What is the purpose of string of pearls? To strangulate India. To strangulate India. So let me show you an example what China has done. China has done a multiple infrastructure project, such as the one is China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, right? Which not Gujarat. China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, which passes through Pak-occupied Kashmir, right? China is entering into Nepal. You must be remembering Gen Z protests. China is entering into Bangladesh. China is entering into Myanmar. And this is how they are developing infrastructure project. China is also near Bhutan and trying to enter into Bhutan. Pakistan is already there. China has done a massive infrastructure development in Indian Ocean region, especially Sri Lanka, such as Hambantota port. These infrastructures are the dual use infrastructure. These infrastructures are dual use infrastructure. What does that mean? That in normal situation they will work as an arteries of economic growth between China and other countries. It will lead to economic integration, but in case of war the same infrastructure can be utilized to invade India. So let's have a look at China Pakistan economic corridor and the massive infrastructure development done by China from Aksai Chin and up to Tawang region. So what will happen if there is a two front war? There is a possibility of two front war in future. So I hope the background is clear. Recently China made some changes, changed the name of Xinjiang province to Senling, and India has objected to it. So this is the basic diagram about string of pearls. Now what this article is all about. Now Dhaka sent 20 member countries. Now Dhaka recently faced the biggest Gen Z protest. Awami League's government was out. Awami League government was out of the power. Sheikh Hasina is expected to be in India in in exile. Government pressure is there. The new government is pressurized India or requesting India for the extradition of Sheikh Hasina, but India has refused to do so as of now. Now, Dhaka is going to China, and there are two primary concerns. Because of visa related issues, there is too much of delay for visa acceptance from Bangladesh to India. So Indian government has delayed, enormous delay for Bangladeshi people to come to India and go for the treatment. So what is happening? This is leading to opportunity lost. Now, more and more Bangladeshis are traveling to more and more Bangladeshis are traveling to Kunming, China for medical treatment because there are visa delays on the part of government, Indian government, visa delays. Again, China is also proposing to invest in infrastructure development related to Tista River, and this infrastructure project is very close to Siliguri corridor. And China is infamous for making dual use infrastructure. The Siliguri corridor is a narrow passage connecting mainland India with the northeastern regions. If that connectivity, if that area is compromised, if that area comes under attack, entire mainland India will be detached from northeastern regions. And it will be extremely difficult to supply man and material to that region in case of any such conflict and attack on Siliguri corridor. During Doklam incident, what India did, India had an eye to eyeball confrontation just to ensure that the Chinese do not capture Doklam Plateau. Because if you capture Doklam Plateau, straight Siliguri corridor comes under the direct attack from Doklam. It's a high altitude area. So that's the reason this is the cause of concern. So in this article, primary concerns are China's infrastructure development near Siliguri corridor, and this infrastructure is related to Tista River, and the second one is related to visa delays to people from Bangladesh for medical emergencies. So these people are moving to China, especially for Kunming. So in this way, China is earning goodwill. China is earning goodwill. China is prepared promoting medical tourism and also making inroads into India's neighborhood. So I hope this topic is clear. Now next article is related to Nepal PM Balendra Shah to visit India after bilateral mechanism. Nothing critical is here, but remember India's neighborhood relations. Remember India's neighborhood relations. Act East policy and the current relations of and the current relation of India with its neighbors, especially the kind of turmoil these neighbors have faced, especially the Gen Z protest of Nepal, the Gen Z protest in Bangladesh, instability in Myanmar region, then recent election change in Sri Lanka, the instability in Pakistan region and Afghanistan as well. So please pay attention to India's Act East policy and the current status of relationship. Next article is Nature Signal. What are sentinel species? IUCN declared the emperor penguin to be an endangered species on April. So first things first. First of all, note down. First of all, note down the status of emperor penguin. Status of emperor penguins as endangered. Endangered. Endangered according to IUCN. Apart from that, there was also a news related to what? There was also a news related to Humboldt penguins. Humboldt penguins, right? Where will you find? You'll find them near Peru and Chile coast. Peru and Chile coast, because they are associated with Humboldt current. Again, there is an issue related to these penguins and their breeding cycles. Breeding cycles. Now the ice sheet is spreading thin and these glaciers are melting faster. So there is an existential threat to these penguins. But let's move on to the main topic. The main topic is related to what constitute penguins. Okay? No. Now let's talk about penguins. So make a penguin here. Sorry. These are penguins. Where will you find penguins? You'll find in Antarctica. Remember Humboldt penguin, as I mentioned earlier. Humboldt penguins. Where will you find them? You'll find them near Chile and Peru coast. Now, the common problems these penguins are facing, the common problems is related to climate change, retreating glaciers, melting snow, changing breeding cycles. Again, there's one more thing, killing of penguins among each other for the fight of resource. So now this article is centered around what are sentinel species? What are sentinel species? Let me explain you in another way. Sentinel species or I would say keystone species, who are they? They are also known as indicator species. They are also known as indicator species. Why indicator species? Why keystone species? Why sentinel species? It means that they indicate the health of an ecosystem. Health of an ecosystem. They also show sustainability of an ecosystem. They also show the impact of climate change. They show impact on resources or any change that might impact an ecosystem negatively or positively. So this is what sentinel species, they are also known as keystone species, they are also known as indicator species. They indicate the health of an ecosystem, sustainability, climate related aspects and resources. Now one more thing, These sentinel species also maintain and contribute significantly into food chains, food webs, plus food chains. Any negative impact to sentinel species may collapse the entire food web or food chain. So I hope this is the basic thing. This is the basic thing. Again, there is two more concept that you need to understand. The first concept is related to the first concept is related to the carrying capacity. The carrying capacity of an ecosystem. What is carrying capacity? Carrying capacity is the maximum number of people, maximum number of resources an ecosystem can support. So this is the carrying capacity. Now if an ecosystem has more than animals or more than creatures that it can support, then ecosystem will collapse. So this is known as carrying capacity. Right? Now there is another word which is known as tipping point. What is tipping point? The point beyond which an ecosystem cannot sustain is known as tipping point. So carrying capacity and tipping point, they are interrelated. Team, is that clear? Carrying capacity or tipping point, they are correlated with each other. An ecosystem will sustain if the resources are not going beyond the carrying capacity of that ecosystem. And if it is going beyond, the moment they go beyond the carrying capacity, they are already breaching the tipping point. So I hope this concept is clear. The sentinel species. Now let's move on to this article. This article says, Down to Earth magazine says, as Antarctic sea ice shrink, iconic emperor penguins are in more peril than we thought about them. Now these are the examples of keystone species such as wolf, such as beaver, such as bisons, blue wild beast, such as African elephant and purple sea star. Now keystone species, look at this one. In this entire structure, this is keystone. If we remove this keystone, entire structure will collapse. This entire structure will collapse. So this is what is the role played by keystone species, that if they survive, the entire ecosystem will survive. If they are removed, if they are dead, if their population is completely dwindling or shrinking, it will collapse the entire ecosystem. Next is, look at this one. These are the keystone species such as sea otter. Sea otter shows the health of the aquatic life. Wolf, beaver, shark, elephant, prairie dog, termite, hummingbird, jaguar, sea turtle, bees, and starfish. They all are the keystone species. They are also known as indicator species or sentinel species, which highlight the entire ecosystem and its health and resource availability or the population related aspects. Now, what this article says, sentinel species are organisms whose health or behavior reflects the condition of an ecosystem. They are early warning indicator. They react quickly to environmental stress like pollution, disease, or climate change. Such as, scientists monitor sentinel species because they show signs of ecological damage before humans notice it. Because these species are directly a part of that ecosystem. So if anything goes wrong with that ecosystem, their health impacts. Either their population will start thriving or their population will decline. Their breeding cycle will impact. They might migrate, right? They end up killing other people because of resource constraint. So they often stay in one place, accumulate toxins, and highly sensitive to environmental changes. Such as, look at this one, frog. Frog is an indicator. Why frog is a sentinel species? Because frogs skins are permeable, so they absorb water. If the water in a table, if a water in a pond is toxic, their skin will absorb it, and their entire metabolism will be impacted. So frogs are an indicator species. At the same time, honeybees are highly susceptible to pesticides. So if in an area, if honeybees are dying or if they are leaving that area, it means that area is full of the pesticide has entered into food chain. Now polar bear, they show aquatic contamination. Fish, they detect industrial pollution such as Minamata disease and Minamata convention in Japan. During industrial revolution in Japan, Huge amount of mercury was percolated into water reservoirs and they were consumed by the fish, and whomsoever was consuming that fish was leading to Minamata disease. So here it is. Emperor penguins, they signal climate change. So these are the examples of why frog, honeybees, polar bear, fish, and emperor penguins are indicator species. Again, example. So this is the same one. Decline of sentinel species is early warning of ecosystem collapse. So this is it in this article. Let's move on to some more articles which are yet to be discussed. So in reverse order, yes, let's talk about this one. US and Iran must continue diplomatic efforts to end the war. So it all started on the night of 28th of February. 28th of February, what happened? 28th of February 2026. We'll remember in the history when USA when USA and Israel attacked Iran. It was called a preemptive strike on Iran. Preemptive strike on Iran. Now, the objective of the war, was not clear, but initially USA and Israel says that objective of the war was to eliminate or decapitate Iranian leadership, break the capability of Iran's nuclear power, navy, IRCG, axis of resistance, and regime change as well. Also, destroying terrorism or terrorist related activities and helping West Asian counterparts. So these were the fluctuating objectives of USA, and they wanted to ensure the energy security in West Asia by controlling Strait of Hormuz. So these were the objective of USA. So the question is, have they succeeded in their objective? Let's analyze. Yes, they decapitated leadership, but the leadership didn't collapse because the Iranians, they go for decentralized leadership. They don't go for the centralized leadership. If you talk about capability, yes, they have damaged the nuclear capability of Iran. Navy got damaged. IRCG got damaged. Axis of resistance got weakened. Regime change didn't happen, and Hormuz is still not clear. But at the same time, apart from these objectives, USA and Israel together incurred heavy damages. In fact, they are bleeding. Now, the impact of this war is that USA might lose its superpower status because US is feeling isolated. No NATO members have come forward to support USA in this war. Neither Gulf allies have come to fund this war, nor European powers are eagerly coming forward to help. So none of the objectives have met. Now, US is trying to salvage its reputation, and US says that Iran is pleading, but the story is different. Iran is also winning the war of narrative, the war of narratives. Now the ceasefire, 2 weeks of ceasefire was declared. It was expected that Iran and USA will meet in Pakistan because Pakistan offered for mediation and the peaceful agreement will take place. But Iran has said that too much of demands are being given by USA. And what are those demands? These demands are complete control, complete control of Hormuz, give up nuclear weapon program, Complete control, give up complete control of, give up complete control of Hormuz, give up nuclear weapon, again, ban proxies, axis of resistance, axis of resistance, and many more demands are there. Now, Iran has refused to give up Hormuz because this is the strongest leverage Iran has, and Iran will never agree to that. Now, nuclear weapon, Iran is non negotiating on nuclear weapon, right? So, these are the demands, and unfortunately, these negotiations have failed. These negotiations have failed despite attempts by Pakistan's mediation. So, this is the news as of now. Nothing more is critical. So, this is what has happened. We all know about it. Now, tourism and trade draft master plan for Greater Nicobar. This was the news of Saturday, and today that is a part of editorial. So let's have a look at it. First of all, if an infrastructure project is coming into the news again and again, please do some research work. Look at this Nicobar. Go to plate tectonics theory, and you will get to know that how vulnerable this particular area is. I'm talking about Andaman and Nicobar. They are located in seismic zone 5. They are an extended part of extended part of plate tectonic or Pacific ring of fire. So any kind of massive infrastructure may lead to disaster. So here it is. Look at this one. This is Indian plate, and this is the Burmese plate, and this is Sunda plate. Now they are a part of Andaman trenches there, which is why, look at this one. These are the areas highly seismic zone, Car Nicobar and Andaman Island. These are highly seismic zone, and they are a part of this plate tectonic or Pacific ring of fire. If you look at Andaman and Nicobar, they are also a part of seismic zone 5, which is why highly vulnerable for any kind of earthquake. And if you get time, please watch Kala Pani, which is a wonderful series published on, launched on Netflix. And I think that this is one such series which can give you a deeper understanding about the tribal life, especially the Sentinelese people, Nicobarese people, and Onge tribes. Okay, so here it is. Look at this one. I would want you to do a proper mapping of this entire area. Galathea National Park project area. What is the project? Look at this one. This is Andaman and Nicobar. The project is here. The government is trying to bring ICTT, airport, industrial and logistical hub, commercial and institutional hub, special use other, wants to promote coastal tourism and green recreational activities and ecotourism. Government plans that by 2050 at least 3.5 lakh people start staying in this region, and tourism will also be promoted, green and recreational activities, coastal tourism. Apart from that, India wants to capitalize Andaman location because it's located on an important sea lines of communication, that is Strait of Malacca. So in this entire article, important thing is mapping. Now, UPSC syllabus GS paper 3 environmental impact assessment and infrastructure, GS paper 2 tribal rights and governance, in GS 1 island ecology and coastal system. Now, Great Nicobar Master Plan says that 92,000 crore mega project is going on. Primary growth driver will be tourism, and it is also a strategic maritime node. Now, vision, the government says that by 2055 we will have 3.3 lakh population established or settled in that area. 1 million tourists will arrive there per year, which is contested. Now, infrastructure backbone, what government is trying to build: transshipment port, international airport, power plants, and smart township. Campbell Bay will become admin hub. Galathea Bay will become port and defense. Eastern coast will become tourism belt. Now it will become an integrated infrastructure development, tourism, logistics, and defense integration. Now critical issues. The critical issues are the tribal people are protesting. The tribal people are saying that our consent has been taken forcibly and the documents were forced. So consent has been withdrawn, forest rights unresolved. The warning is displacement and legal violation. There is no clarity that where these people will be reestablished or relocated. Now environmental risks are also there because 121 square kilometer of forest is completely diverted. Biodiversity hotspot will be damaged, and turtle nesting disruption will disrupt. Disaster, if you talk about disaster, this is a fragile island ecosystem which is vulnerable for collapse. Tsunami prone and seismic zone 5, 1 million tourists versus limited carrying capacity. So these are the issues related to Andaman and Nicobar, and that's it for today. Thank you so much. Wish you a wonderful day ahead. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.